Epiphany Farms started in 2009 when chef Ken Mishka left his cooking job in high-end restaurants in Las Vegas and returned to his hometown. Determined to make a difference and change the way people eat, he convinced two chef colleagues to join him and begin farming on the property of his childhood home. Located 20 minutes from the restaurant, the farm sits on dusty two-lane country road, a polyculture stronghold surrounded by big corporate monocrop farms growing corn, soybeans, and wheat. In place of those monocrops, Epiphany Farms allows the land and Mother Nature to dictate what is grown, from kale to okra and walnuts to morel mushrooms.
There isn't any culinary talent in this town, so it's like we had to train people, we had to hire, we had to completely turn over the staff. And it was one day at a time, like, okay, here's how you hold 3 plates in your hand. Here's where the flame is underneath the saute pan when you're holding the handle. Here's how you use your spoon. So finding the right people that belong is really challenging.
I think to understand just the uphill battle that Epiphany Farms has been fighting, you have to understand the context of Bloomington, Northern Illinois. It's a college town. It's surrounded by a lot of wheat fields and a lot of corn fields. It's the birthplace of Steak and Shake, and so there's a lot of chain restaurants around there. And so one of the uphill battles that Epiphany Farms had to fight is the perception that people think that their food is pretentious, because that type of food is rarely seen in central Illinois. But if you look at it, the food is really not that pretentious at all. It's very much classic American cooking with refined fine dining techniques. But the fact that they've been around for so many years, coming up on a decade now, I think really speaks to the success that perhaps they are winning that battle. They were in the infancy of farming, and the restaurant hadn't been opened yet, and the way that they were making money is they were hosting these pop-up dinners in people's homes, and they were bringing their ingredients, and they had these grand plans about how they can save fine dining and how it could operate on a much more sustainable model, farming all these produce, and they were raising the chickens and hogs on this farm. And it was really amazing because it was just 4 people, and they were doing all this themselves, and they were learning about farming from YouTube videos and from books and from textbooks. And I was really struck by, they were literally learning how to do this from the ground on up.
4 years after starting the farm, in the summer of 2014, the team opened Epiphany Farms restaurant. Today, the farm and restaurant employ over 150 people.
This is per capita the thickest chain restaurant city, I think, in the United States. Starting out, and even up until this very day, people still think our food's pretentious, and we've been trying to wipe that slate clean since day one. Working in high-end restaurants, the amount of waste really jaded me and my business partners, and instead of taking the center section of a carrot and throwing the other 60% of it in the trash because it's not the right spec or the right size, we really felt that there was a better way. The stakes, the level of expectations are so high when people come into our restaurants, we get one shot at it. If the food isn't perfect, if it's not the best piece of chicken they've ever had, they're gonna tend to turn their backs and not support us. When you get people in the dining room, that's your opportunity to capture them and educate them on why it's important to dine here and spend your food dollars here. But the food has to be spot on. I like to present food the best that I can, and it doesn't have to be fine dining. It has to be everyday nutrition. This is how people eat. From the beginning, expansion was always very important to us. To be able to steward this land in a regenerative sense and to prove that in the belly of the beast, with all the monocrops, the corn and soybeans around us, we were able to have regenerative agriculture that can be a viable business model. So we took on this monster, and the farm wasn't really sized to that. So it was kind of a little bit of a scramble trying to figure out how to put these systems together and then sized up rapidly to be able to supply the restaurants with enough of this nutritionally dense, farm fresh food.
And I tell people all the time on tours that we're not doing anything new here. Like we've been doing this for hundreds of years, and we're just getting back to it and finding those outlets that give us a little bit of a shortcut, you know.
We're out to create the business model. That's why we're completely open door, transparent about our farming systems. We welcome the community, and we require a mandatory paid shift to all of our team once a year, once a season, to come out and spend time on the farm. And whenever they're harvesting radishes or kale and they drop a kale salad on the table, and they can explain to the guests that I harvested this kale this morning. That connection, people just, as humans, we need that. Harvesting crops and growing and farming, it's really rewarding, but if there's not that connection, if the cooks don't have that experience, then it's lost. It's the same product to them. And we're trying our very best to convey how important it is to grow locally and have more farmers and educate more farmers on how to care for themselves and steward the land, to cultivate crops as well as cultivate human beings.